Mao Zedong was a prominent 20th-century Chinese revolutionary leader and politician who played a central role in the founding of the People's Republic of China. Born on December 26, 1893, in the village of Shaoshan, China, Mao came from a relatively prosperous peasant family. Mao's family was part of the well-to-do farming class in the Hunan province. His father was a traditionalist who adhered to Confucian values, emphasizing education and thrift. His mother was a deeply religious woman who practiced Buddhism and had a strong influence on young Mao. He attended a local village school where he studied Confucian classics and learned calligraphy. This early education instilled in him a love for learning and traditional Chinese culture. Despite his family's relative prosperity, Mao's early years were marked by a growing awareness of the stark social inequalities in China. He witnessed the suffering of the rural poor and became deeply affected by their plight. This exposure to poverty and social injustice planted the seeds of his future revolutionary ideals. At the age of 14, Mao was married to Luo Yishou in an arranged marriage, which was common at the time. However, he would later divorce Luo and marry Yang Kaihui, a union that would become politically significant. Mao briefly worked as a teacher and later as a librarian in a local school. During this time, he continued to educate himself by reading Western literature and political works. Mao's political awakening began in the early 1910s when he moved to Changsha, the provincial capital of Hunan, to attend the first normal school. It was in Changsha that he came into contact with radical political ideas, particularly through discussions with his friends and exposure to writings on Marxism and anarchism. The May 4th movement of 1919, a student-led protest against foreign imperialism and domestic corruption, further galvanized his revolutionary spirit. Mao joined the Chinese Communist Party in 1921, just 2 years after its founding. His early years in the party were marked by his commitment to Marxist-Leninist principles and his involvement in organizing labor strikes and peasant uprisings in Hunan. Mao's dedication to the communist cause and his organizational skills propelled him through the ranks of the CCP. By the late 1920s, he became a prominent leader within the party, known for his ability to connect with rural peasants and mobilize them for the communist revolution. He played a key role throughout the Chinese Civil War, which would last almost 20 years between the Chinese government and forces of the Chinese Communist Party. One of the most pivotal events in Mao's early political career was the Long March from 1934 to 1935. Faced with internal party fighting and the onslaught of nationalist forces, Mao and the Red Army embarked on a grueling retreat that covered thousands of miles. The Long March solidified Mao's reputation as a resilient and strategic leader. After years of civil war with the Nationalist Party, Mao's Red Army emerged victorious, and he declared the establishment of the People's Republic of China on October 1, 1949. Mao became the chairman of the CCP, and later, the chairman of the People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong's leadership in China saw the implementation of several 5-year plans, with the most notable one being the first 5-year plan from 1953 to 1957. These plans were inspired by the Soviet Union's economic planning model and aimed to transform China from an agrarian society into an industrial and communist state. Mao's government quickly implemented economic policies, focusing on industrialization and the collectivization of agriculture. This period saw significant investments in heavy industries, infrastructure, and the development of a planned economy. It also saw the redistribution of land from wealthy landlords to peasants, a policy aimed at addressing rural inequality and garnering support from the agricultural majority. In 1958, Mao launched the Great Leap Forward, an ambitious plan to catapult China into an industrial and agricultural superpower. It included the establishment of communes, backyard steel furnaces, and massive irrigation projects. The Great Leap Forward resulted in widespread famine and economic disruption, leading to the deaths of millions due to food shortages and other related issues. The Chinese government, under Mao's direction, engaged in heavy censorship and propaganda campaigns to control the narrative about the Great Leap Forward. This prevented accurate information about the scale of the disaster from reaching the outside world. Those who criticized or questioned the policies of the Great Leap Forward were often persecuted or labeled as counter-revolutionaries. This created an atmosphere of fear and stifled dissent. In the early 1960s, Mao launched the Cultural Revolution, aimed at purging Chinese society of capitalist, traditionalist, and revisionist elements. The Red Guard, composed of radicalized youth, carried out violent purges, cultural destruction, and ideological campaigns. Many individuals within the CCP, the intelligentsia, and those with perceived counter-revolutionary backgrounds were persecuted, often facing public humiliation, forced labor, imprisonment, or death. Schools and universities were shut down or drastically reorganized to eliminate perceived elitism and bourgeois values. Many intellectuals and educators were sent to rural areas for re-education. Cultural artifacts, historical sites, and religious symbols were targeted for destruction. Even priceless historical and cultural relics were vandalized or destroyed. By the early 1970s, China was in a state of chaos due to the Cultural Revolution's excesses. Mao's health was declining, and with the help of moderates like Zhou Enlai, efforts were being made to bring about stability and normalize the country. Mao Zedong passed away on September 9, 1976, leaving behind a mixed legacy. While he is celebrated by some for unifying China, reducing poverty, and increasing literacy, his policies, particularly the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, resulted in immense suffering and death. An estimated 65 million Chinese died under Mao's brutal reign. His legacy is still felt today, and he remains one of the most infamous figures of the 20th century. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.